honors and accomplishments of student and staff. Dr. James. We don't have any students here with us tonight, and as always, the honors and accomplishments are published and for everyone's reading. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. Item A is second reading of the 2016-17 proposed general fund budget. Mr. Eisenhower? Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly, it's you. I'll let him do it.
No, we will not let him do it.
I was going to make it interesting.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we have I'll go over just the highlights of the budget again. It's a balanced budget, $75,876,280. It's a 4.64% increase over the prior year based on a base unit cost of $2,350. Includes a 2% increase for salary scales, plus a step for all that would be applicable. That's the basic highlights. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve second reading for the 2016 proposed general fund budget.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion? All in favor for the approval of the second final reading of the proposed 2016-17 general fund budget, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is second reading of proposed amendments to administrative rule IKA-R grading system.
Administration recommends approval of second and final reading of the amendments to that rule.
Madam Chair, then I'll make a motion to approve second reading for proposed amendments to administrative rule IKA-R grading system.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have new business. First item is consideration of request for overnight or out-of-state student travel.
Yes, ma'am. One of these is a ratification. The other one is approval on airport high school football. Will be at the Furman football camp June 12th through 14th. They work at the camp June 12th through 14th, and will be at Mercer June 20th through 22nd. We'd like for the board to ratify the first one and approve the second.
Motion to approve the request for overnight or out-of-state student travel as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bingham. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Kessler?
We have discussed many times about the ratification and the need for those to be eliminated. I don't know if this was an emergency situation or just something that was an oversight, but again, I think that the administration should stress the importance of getting these requests in prior to. Had something happened on this between the 12th and today, I'm quite sure we would be in trouble. So I still personally emphasize that these requests be placed prior to going, unless it's an emergency such as qualifying for a state playoff. You don't know that, you have to do what you have to do. But for things that should be planned well ahead, they need to be presented to the board prior to going, just for the safety of the district.
And I agree, and while I can't answer all of your questions, Ms. Kessler, what I think happened in that particular case with the Furman camp is there were a small number of kids that were going to go up there, and as it turned out, a larger number wanted to go, and so what Coach Burnett did is get involved so he could take the kids who wanted to go. So You're absolutely right. It was not an emergency. It was just an opportunity for more kids to participate. And you are right in the fact that poor planning does not constitute an emergency. So I agree with you, and we'll try to do both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration
Madam
of...
Chair, lights on.
Okay. Consideration of final schematic design of the Cape Center.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have Jennifer Carter Cease with us tonight. We probably have these presentations out of order. We've talked a couple times, and I probably messed Todd up. But if you will, Todd, come on up and let's talk about. Looks like you got the Cape Center up there, so I probably shouldn't have told on myself.
Well, just wait. All right. Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, thanks for the opportunity tonight to give you an update on the design of the Cape Center. It's an exciting time. We've been meeting on a regular basis over the last several months, and more frequently over the last several weeks. So Bernie and Joni and Don and everyone from the administration have all pitched in. We've met with the teachers of some vocational programs, and we think we've gathered their input. We've included their comments in the design, and tonight we'd like to share the progress of that, and hopefully, as Don mentioned, gain approval from you guys to proceed ahead. We have representatives from MP Con, Glenn and Steve here as well, and Glenn's been involved in all of the meetings with us. So we've developed some construction schedules, and we're proceeding along. Just to orient you again, 12th Street runs across the bottom of the sheet. Taylor Drive is right here. Bulldog Lane leads back down, sort of at the top of the drawing. The existing elementary school is under construction, and the new Cape Center will be located in between the new elementary and Busby Reading and Fine Arts.
So I'll just take you on a quick walk through the building and how it's developed since we last saw you. As you come in the front entrance here, you'll find a secure entry, and that will lead you into an admin area. Your typical admin where your director and assistant director, guidance. You have a nice conference room here that you can bring guests in from neighboring corporations that can come, and that can be a home base to get to interact with the students. And then as you come through the building, again, we have this large seminar or auditorium space that can be used both as a seated area and as for more banquet style meetings, connected directly to the culinary arts so that that area can be used to prepare food. And also this auditorium space will be big enough to hold large-scale functions, especially through the use of a folding wall here so that you can spill out and connect into that center atrium space.
So we think we'll have the opportunity to have the foundation meetings right there at Airport and NBC's foundation, so it'll be kind of a unique environment, and the culinary arts students will be able to provide food for that event, so it's a wonderful opportunity, we think.
So right next to the culinary arts, we have a horticulture and animal sciences space. There's a great opportunity there for growing your own food if students can. Then we'll continue on to building construction science, law, public safety, auto collision, and auto mechanics. The auto collision space has a separated paint shop that you can have students washing and painting cars at the same time as you have other students working on body repair. The auto mechanics has various different kinds of lifts, 5 different bays so that you can have multiple cars in that area at one time, as well as work tables for small engine repair projects.
And each of the instructors were instrumental in the layout of the space. So their input was included in how the space was being laid out.
On the opposite side of the hall, we have welding that should be able to accommodate 20 students using welding booths at a given time.
And I'll just say too, and I failed to mention when we were going through the site plan, all of the lavender color spaces are connected to an outside service yard. They all have high bay doors and immediate access to the outside and a covered area, so you really get an extension of the instructional space outside under a covered area.
And you can, we'll
Also
show you.
have a classroom.
And each have a classroom, each have storage areas, components between each of the high bay areas.
As well as locker rooms, office space. Then coming along to the kind of purple areas here, these are cosmetology and barbering classes. They're designed to have, again, about 20 students at a time working at styling stations or pedicure, manicure, and a pretty wide range of activities. We have it set up so there will be a secured entry for both of those areas so that on weekends you could have clients come in and students could practice getting haircuts and the gamut in a real application. So, coming down we have health science. This will be a lab space. It's got a few classrooms and then one larger lab space that all of those classrooms feed into. That lab space has 5 different beds that would be patient beds for the health science students to practice their work on. And then again with them they'll have office storage, lockers, and laundry space associated with that. It's also directly connected to a sports medicine program that will have, again, a classroom. It'll have tables to practice rapping, hydrotherapy room, and then also you'll see on the lighter blue area, these will be 2 science labs that they're designed to be really college-level science classrooms, so that one is set up as a more chemistry-type lab and one set up for more physics-type applications. So you'll have some that have the hoods and actual stations throughout the room, and then the physics lab will be more flexible desks that you can move out to have larger experiments,
And so those labs will be designed to include the teaching opportunities for Midlands Tech. So the partnership between Lexington School District 2 and Midlands Tech will be able to accommodate that, share some space, and then maybe hopefully the students at Lexington 2 will be able to get Midlands Tech associate type credits while they're in high school. So it's again a good opportunity for that to take place there.
all right. So moving up to the second floor, on the top part of the screen, you'll see these are 2 engineering lab spaces. There's both a lab and a classroom for each of those. The computer spaces will be the classroom spaces will be set up with computers, and then the lab space has larger scale equipment. It's got some sinks and some equipment there as well for more project-based learning. And I think that's also Project Lead the Way is part of that group. coming down, you'll see a computer lab here. We're also looking into having,
Yeah, TV studio, so it's kind of a flexible type space. Again, opportunity for students to do the presentation, to do the filming, to do the editing, and actually send those programs back to their home high schools. So we think that's a real opportunity as that program may be added to your curriculum.
and students and teachers and guests will be able to see that from that atrium space as they're walking through, because it is, again, located right on that main atrium space. Directly across the way is the Digital Arts and Design program that has everything from computer stations where they would work on Photoshop, Illustrator, programs like that, as well as the production table areas for projects, screen printing. There's a dark room, so a pretty wide range of projects can go on in that area. And then coming along, we've got IT classrooms. That will also be set up as a very flexible space, but we'll be able to hold computers. It should have large screens to help groups collaborate together. It should be, again, have plotters and the high-tech equipment to...
Cybersecurity type programs could take place in those areas. And as Ashley mentioned, they're really a flexible type spaces that will be able to accommodate programs as it develops. So you can see we've set it up where there's the very traditional vocational programs along one wing and the more higher tech programs located on the 12th Street side of the facility.
So we pulled together a video to help show this in 3D. So hopefully this time it will work without any problems.
Joel and I have been working on this all afternoon. So this is, yeah.
You'll see 12th Street on the right. This is coming in through a student entry. You can kind of see in there some large monitors that you can...
Video screens we talked about as people ride up and down 12th Street, seeing the student work, so we can see digital screens that you can display at all hours. This is more of the service side where the high bay shops are, welding, auto mechanics, building construction. And then this is more of the visitor entrance, the corporate side. Coming into a secured entrance. There's one of the auto body guys coming in.
But the materials, it's meant to combine that high-tech feel with the existing buildings on campus using more traditional materials like the brick tied together.
Right. We'd like to try to answer any questions you might have. That's where we are today with the CATE Center, or the Center for Advanced Learning. Is that? We're working on the name.
Can you go back to the full plan? First one. How about give me a little perspective on what size we're talking about there? I don't have any perspective on scale, so I don't know how big are these rooms.
So we have a number of really large rooms, Bill. The typical high bay area is 4,400 square feet. So when you tour BC and Airport High School's vocational buildings now, those spaces are in the 3,000 square foot range. So we're adding more space, and as you go through, you can see how cramped they are trying to do some of their programs. So we've increased the size of those areas for the high bay shops, and even auto mechanics is larger than that. So it's approaching 5,000 square feet above. Some of the engineering classrooms are really double type lab spaces. So those are really nice areas as well. And what the goal is to make these spaces as flexible as possible. So they're large, oversized type spaces with separate classroom type areas for individual type instruction.
So, for instance, the building construction science, that room may be 60 by 80 or?
It's, so it's a little less than that. It's 65 feet from corner to the back wall and, what?
40, about 40 to 40.
Maybe it's-
And that's just the main room?
That's just the main room, and then you have a classroom.
Those classrooms are about what size?
How many students are they going to be set up for?
20 to 25 students in those programs. The classroom space is about 700 square feet, 720 square feet, you know, large enough to accommodate the entire student, you know, population in those programs. And each high bay area has an associated classroom.
So that auditorium for the adjacent to culinary arts, size-wise there, that's about
Right.
60 by,
It's about 5,000 square feet, so we have 350 seated at tables in that layout right there.
350.
With the ability for overflow crowds to flow into the atrium area, the commons area.
Any other questions?
Madam,
Mr. Johnson? Okay.
Just one question, Todd. Obviously, I know you got some space built in there already for potential future programs, but if this thing really takes off and we really start getting a lot of growth in the Kate area, what expansion capabilities are there?
We'll have the opportunity, Brad, to extend the wing along 12th Street on out, basically almost doubling in size its length right now, basically from the orange over. We'll be able to recreate that to the right.
Okay, so there's space to move on out to the right?
Yes.
Okay.
The high bay area is we're filling up the site.
Sure.
We probably could add one additional high bay type space, but it's getting full. If you go back to the site plan, we were limited in space here, but you can see, you know, from this direction, we could come all the way out to this driveway with a future expansion here. So,
Okay, thank you.
and in the plan itself, we have some already built-in expansion.
That leads right into my question. There's at least 100 yards plus of wooded area still there between the Kate Center and the middle school, the elementary, middle school, excuse me, Busby Middle. Why was not more of that cleared for expansion so that we don't have to do it at a later date? It's going to be more economic to do
So
it now.
what's under construction right now is the elementary school. So it comes right in here, and this area is yet to be cleared. That will be under the MB Khan construction project.
Thank you, that answers it, the whole thing. Ben, what about the wooded area over here on the
Right here?
Taylor? Yes, sir. It's quite big. It's at least 50 yards. of
Yeah, so
wooded
what we
area.
were hoping to do is leave some of those trees as a buffer from that road and that neighborhood, clean out up underneath those trees, but yet leave some of the existing trees right in that.
Can you thin that out as well? Because in today's society, I'd hate to keep it here on the radio that we've got someone down there in the woods stalking our children.
Absolutely. We were kind of thinking it would be much like Georgia up here. You know how you look through the pine trees out front, it's very nice. And so that's kind of the idea there. We'll clean all the underbrush out and the small trees, but yet leave the opportunity for some of those pines to grow over time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, it's a recommendation of the administration that we approve this plan, which will be the final schematic, and allow Jump Carter Cities to start with DD, Design Development Plans.
I make a motion that we approve the final schematic design for the Kate Center so that we can move forward with the final design.
I have a motion, second by Ms. Kay Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next. Good job. We have consideration of Brooklyn Casey High School I-2 Tech Plan and GMB background information. Mr.
All
Eisenhower.
right, we'll see if Todd can pull up can cover me one more time here, pull up the right PowerPoint presentation. And what we have for you is we just wanted to remind you of the project that we're proposing for I-2 Tech for the third expansion out of that program. And also Thompson Turner, I think Jenny Kirk is here to present a guaranteed maximum price for this project, which we would like to start immediately.
All right, thank you, Don. So just to refresh your memory, this is one of the existing high bay areas over there in the vocational building at Brooklyn Casey High School. It is phase 3 of the I-2 Tech project, and it will be very similar to the one that was constructed last summer, with a few additions of some sinks and a project lab space, some more development of prep rooms and storage rooms, computer labs, and, as I mentioned, a large space for project learning.
Madam Chair, Dr. James, board members, thanks for having me back. If you'll remember, last time I was here, I presented a budget for the plans that we had at the time for $890,000, and the intention of my request at that time for approval was not to move forward with that budget as a finite budget, but for us to move forward with the procurement of what we needed to get busy so that we could try to deliver this project for you by the time that school starts. So since then, we have received all of our bids. We adjusted the scope a little bit, and I have a guaranteed maximum price for you. I'll put it on these sheets again so everyone doesn't have to write down. So we are at $626,487. And I'd like to make some clarification on this number before you have questions. Okay. So a few things about this number. I told you I was going to bring you back some change. We brought back some more change, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring you back even more at the end of the summer. This number includes an allowance of $50,000 for unforeseen conditions. We don't know exactly what we're going to get into when we get into this building, so if in the event that we do have any problems, we'll have that covered and I won't have to come back to you with my handout. We are running a new gas line to this project to accommodate a gas-powered HVAC unit, which is more efficient than electric, and it's also going to be good to go ahead and run this gas now because future plans for the space are going to require gas for your science equipment. So we'll go ahead and have that done for the future. So there's going to be some potential for some unforeseen conditions with the site work that we'll have to do to cut up asphalt and concrete, but we have all that provided for. We also have a construction contingency of $26,297 in there. So it's my hope that we'll be able to return most, if not all, of those monies. Additionally, we were pretty conservative on our general conditions and how we're going to staff this, but we're going to look at it really hard, and hopefully we're going to be able to use some efficiencies with our staff over at Busby to be able to manage this and not use as much overtime as we have in it. And so additionally, we'll be able to return some of that money for you too. But, you know, of course, we'll only bill you for what we use in terms of our own manpower to staff it out there. So everything's been ordered. The light fixture submittals, HVAC, and millwork have been approved. They've been ordered, and we're targeting an August 11th finish date. We're going to try really, really hard to get it for you. Not 100% promising it, but that's what our schedule shows, and it's a pretty detailed schedule, so we're going to be aggressive and try to get there. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
Ms. Freeman?
And I'm really glad it came in this much under, because I think I asked about that last time. But I guess my question is, I know as part of the reason it came in so much under is because we did take out a lab. So you may not have done this, but you may have in your brain. So having taken out the lab, did the bids come in better than you would have expected for the project without lab initially? Does that make sense? In other words,
Well, for sure. So and I wouldn't say we took out a lab, there were components of this space that we deleted. So the millwork changed significantly in terms of what you needed for a science lab. And we didn't have acid waste piping, so that was deleted. And then of course the exhaust hoods. And so anything associated with that. We also, there was, for the electrical component, there was some lighting deleted underneath the casework and cabinetry involved in that. So yes, that scope did help the number. But we still would have been significantly less than what I told you, the 890.
okay, that was
I don't want to give you a firm number, but I would say that you probably saved around $100,000 in delaying or deferring this science work at the time. The reason it wouldn't have been more is because we did keep the gas, and so there's some, monies involved in that.
okay, thank you.
Ms. Kessler?
This renovation is because of the bond referendum, I'm assuming, since there is a contingency in there that says money is set aside to demolish or to refurbish those vocational centers, is that correct? So that's why this is covered under the bond referendum, and that's good. And I guess this is a question of administration. Since we're refurbishing the tech center on BC's campus, is there going to be sufficient funds or equal funds set aside so that in time, airport's vocational area will be refurbished and usable with the same accommodations?
I think the short answer to that, Ms. Kessler, is no.
That's what I thought.
The budgets are significantly different, as you know. So, in the airport area is complicated by the fact of the fire. Right now, we've got, well, not now because we're in summer, but up until the kids left, we had folks that were sitting there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure there was no fire. This lab that you're talking about, as far as being part of the bond referendum, I'm not sure. I know the bond referendum question says something to the effect that those vocational areas in both schools will either be renovated, reused, or demolished. But my understanding, and it's just my understanding, is the board made a commitment for the I-2 Tech several years ago. And obviously I'm wrong.
Right, but our commitment was for $80,000, and that was to be a one-time deal. And it turned out to be, like you told me, we've got $1 million in that program.
Yes, ma'am.
And we were told $80,000.
And I'm just grateful I'm not the one that told you that.
Well, I guess that's a good point. My other point is that that building was insured, and I think that...
At airport?
Yes, sir. I think there's about a $2 million insurance check probably coming our direction. Is that
How
true?
much do you think it's worth, Kelly?
We're actually waiting on the adjuster that went out that day, still has not given his report on that. So we have that, plus we have some things that the school has, like that some of the teachers and students that lost coats and things like that, to also put in with that once we get that back from them.
There is an insurance policy, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I won't tell you $2 million because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, I haven't seen any list.
I think you'll find out. It's in that, just in that bracket.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, the administration recommends approval of the guaranteed maximum price so we can proceed with this project.
Entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price of $626,487 for the BC High School renovation.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Ms. Kay Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is, thank you, is recommendation to approve the contract price as presented for ADA access to Congaree Wood Early Childhood Center playground.
Madam Chair, the reason that I put this on here, as I indicated in the notes that I sent you regarding the construction projects, the initial bids for this project came in over budget. And we've been working with MBCon to try to see what we can do to redesign the project and possibly even include the project in the scope of work that MBCon will be doing whenever they start construction out there, to try to take advantage of the site conditions and that sort of thing and save a little money. At this point in time, I've emailed the civil engineer that designed this project, and with some potential suggestions that MBCon and I worked up, but we have not heard back from the civil engineer as of meeting time just a little while ago. We've been working on this for, I guess, a week and a half. So at this point in time, I do not have a recommendation for you other than that we don't have the budget to do it, and that we probably will need to wait and work this in to the construction project that MBCon is going to be doing out there. The only concern I have about this is it is ADA access going down to the playground. Obviously, the optimal time to do that would be during the summer when the students are not there. So we have not discussed or gotten into a complete schedule yet, but we think that we would be able to work it in during summer months so that we can get this done. Unfortunately, it's going to be probably another summer before we can work this out.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is administrative divisional reports. First is the superintendent, Dr. James.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Cindy Kessler asked about Kelly Services. We'll talk about that during the next meeting. Ms. Kessler, in order to kind of prepare what I've done is asked the principals to give us just a little bit of feedback about Kelly this year, the amount of unfilled jobs. By and large, most of the principals, well, all of the principals have said that it's better than when they were doing it themselves. There are days that there are jobs left unfilled. Some of them said, of course, they had days when jobs were left unfilled when the principals were doing it. One of the things that I think if we go away from Kelly that we have to look at is it would require somebody keeping account of the amount of hours that these subs are working. By and large, all the principals, no one had anything negative to say about the use of Kelly Services. I think primarily some special ed areas were very difficult to fill. Kelly Services, their employees will not deal with students that they have to put their hands on. Those jobs are difficult to fill. Primarily Mondays and Fridays, or people calling in at almost time to work, at 7:30 in the morning kind of deal. So I wasn't real sure what all you wanted. I tried to just get a feel, but I'll try to answer. And I've got a few principals out there that are using it, so hopefully that gives you an idea, or we can follow up on whatever else is that you'd like.
Well, thank you for trying to explain it, but I already knew that the administrators were happy about it, but it's still a very serious problem. And I've had an opportunity in the schools in the last month when the occasion arose to speak directly to a teacher or question about use of problem. And when you don't have anyone covering your class and you're spending all the time preparing for it, and you have a non-qualified teacher coming in the classroom, you've got a problem. And sure, there's going to be a problem regardless of who does it. But it sort of irritates me that we've got Kelly Services collecting high dollar. I mean, they're not doing this for free, so they're capitalizing on the issue, and we're still not being covered in the classroom. And when teachers are called to cover classes, it's like it's their responsibility to do it for their teammates. And, you know, because the teammate does exist in the classroom, but it's a burden on our employees.
Well, and obviously you've talked to some folks out there that have given you both sides of it. I don't know that it's a lot different than it was in the days that you were out in the classroom. And you're right, we do pay Kelly Services. We could do it ourselves. It would cost us more money. There would still be times when teachers would have to cover their classrooms, and there'd still be times where you had less than trained substitutes. But by and large, I think, and again, this is one of those things that I'm going on what I think rather than having been here. No, it appears from what I've been able to read that the Kelly Services was a way to manage the hours and the new requirements that go along with insurance and overtime and those sorts of things. And you are exactly right. There are days when classes are not covered and someone has to do it. Is that more or less? David said back there, and his comment was one that I do remember. It was to the effect that, you know, they were doing as good or better than he had been able to do normally. So we're willing to do whatever the wishes of the board are. I just, you were in the classroom a long time, you know, there'll never be a day when we can guarantee you that if you've got a lot of people who stay out on Friday or stay out on Monday, that we don't know that we can cover. And that's one of the things we've tried to stress this year, in fact, that I've asked the principals to please do their best to make sure that we've got a 96% attendance rate. I think that improves our instructional program, cuts down on the fact that we spend so much in substitutes, and it kind of alleviates that Monday, Friday, somebody's out, you got.
An incentive plan.
And I'm not beyond doing that.
How many teachers this year had perfect attendance in all of our schools? Do you have any idea?
No, ma'am, I don't. We're just now getting in our final numbers on what the percentages are in each school, but I can find that. Number. And I
was at one program where a couple of teachers were recognized for having perfect attendance, and a corporation outside came in with a check. I don't know the amount, but I think this is something the district might consider for those teachers who have perfect attendance, that maybe we can, it's worth $500 to a teacher to have perfect attendance. I think that's a mighty small fee to pay.
I agree with you, Ms. Kessler, because right now substitutes cost us way, way more than that. And the fact is, we're hoping that our faculty attendance is going to be up. But I mean, you go back to the days when we first started, 96% that was the bare minimum. I mean, you weren't there 96% of the time, and they were thinking each class wasn't covered, and we're trying to get back to that point. So I wouldn't be opposed to that if the board gave us leeway to do that. I'd be delighted, but I'll get the number.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Boone.
The flip side of that is if you monetize perfect attendance, then are people going to show up to work sick when they don't need to be here and give the other teachers something, or give the kids, expose them to flu or virus or whatever just because they're trying to make their $500 to make perfect attendance?
There's no guarantee that sub coming in the room doesn't have a fee of $105 either, so two sides to that, yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Brown. And I may be having a faulty memory, but I believe at one point in the district, we actually used to, every 9 weeks, throw everybody who had perfect attendance in a hat, and we'd draw them out, and we would give them some type of bonus. And it was kind of the luck of it to draw thing, so it's not you had perfect attendance, you automatically got $500, but at least you had enough incentive to get in the hat if you perhaps only had a fever of 99.5, you know? If you had a fever of 105, don't bother being in the house. So I would like to at least have a report on that by January.
Okay.
And Dr. James, I do appreciate you gathering what you were able to from Ms. Kessler, but what I think might be more beneficial is if we can get some hard numbers and perhaps, for instance, maybe, I know we used to get these reports as well, so we're kind of giving you what we used to get, what we liked and didn't like, and you're still learning us. But, you know, every 9 weeks, I think it could be fairly easy, and not on your part, Kelly should provide it to give us a report, or, you know, how many vacancies they had to fill, how many were able to be filled, not able to be filled. I mean, they should be able to hit a button and print that out, because they're getting paid to fill them. And I think that'd be useful if the board sees that every 9 weeks. And then by January, we'll have had 2 reports of that. And so we'll have specific numbers and not just, you know, suppositions. And then by January, perhaps with those numbers in our hands, your staff could actually, as part of a pre-budget presentation, give us an estimated cost of, this is what it's costing us with Kelly, this is what it would cost us another way, and perhaps, you know, give us some hard numbers. That kind of gives you half a year, you know, so that instead of just saying, hey, you know, we know it would cost more, we could actually see, well, hey, maybe this costs a little bit more to do Kelly, but we're saving in these areas. Do you know what I'm saying? Some type of factual thing.
We can do that.
Perfect, thank you.
Ms. Kessler?
Mr. James, Dr. James, when Kelly came here, they assured us that they would put teachers in long terms and not just warm bodies. We need to hold them accountable to what they told this district they would do, because they're sending warm bodies. And not that those warm bodies can't do an adequate job, but if they're certified, they've been in the classroom at some time or another and has a little bit more of a grip on management and following directions or whatever.
So they did tell the board that they would have certified?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Brown? And Madam Chairman, one more thing, and I hope I can get it out of my mouth before you call me out of order, because I'm going to relate it to contracted out services and say it's under this agenda item. But I would just like for us also, Dr. James, to keep an eye with our cleaning services we just got hired, because from what I understand, in a good way, because we did say, you know, talk to the employees, but if they go and hire all the employees who weren't doing a good job in our buildings under the other people, that's probably not a good thing either. I've just had some concerns about that, just based on what we hear in the community, which are not facts. But if you could
Yes,
just
ma'am.
keep an eye on that, because from what I understand in that lag time, the people who were on the way out
It
didn't
was
want to do
awful.
anything.
It was absolutely.
And they said in here and said they would not hire the people that are being hurt. They said they'd be bringing in their own people.
I don't remember. But
Very young man.
I will hopefully alleviate some fear in the fact that has been topic of conversation almost every day, and it's part of our plan. We had district-wide a report card that was supposed to be completed once a week, and a copy given to Mr. King and a copy given to the cleaning company. Some cases that was dead on the money, on time, every time, and sometimes not. What we're planning on doing, there'll be an assistant principal in each building, and unfortunately, some buildings only have one assistant principal, so it will be them. But that's part of their job, to look at that building every week and complete that form. That's gotta be done. We can't let it get to the point that it's filthy. And Ms. Brown, you've been very polite, but the exit from the company we had was a disaster. So hopefully that will be better, but we're on that.
Okay. All right, next we have an update on the penny sales tax.
Yes, ma'am, and this will be very quick. You have some package of information, superintendents and board officers from Lexington County have talked a couple of times, and what you have there is a package of information from Theo DeBose. Theo is a bond attorney. He helped put together the penny sales tax in Lexington County. One of the things that the board needs to know is the penny sales tax in Lexington County has a sunset of January 2019. That means in order for that penny sales tax to renew, something has to be done by November of 2018, obviously a vote. It could happen before that, but that would mean a change in legislation. Roughly for Lexington District 2, it's about 30 mills. I think the total amount, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, we're the second highest in total amount. It's about $8 million in change. Of course, when you're talking about $1 million, that's not change, but we get just over $8 million. The big positive thing about that is when Kelly and I were talking to some of the folks there, I think about 40% of that penny sales tax comes from people either outside of Lexington County or outside of the state of South Carolina. So it's a good way to offset taxes for folks in the community and fund the schools. You can read through that. It's self-explanatory in the parts that Theo is suggesting that be changed or introduced. It's marked in blue and red. The red is what he has advised to be taken out. The blue is additions. I'm sure everybody on this board knows more about how the penny sales tax came along here than I do, but anyway, there are 5 districts that it's divided. There's a 50-50 kind of a relationship based on, it's not just all which district has the most kids. That was set up by Representative Bingham, and it has been very good to the taxpayers in Lexington too, and to the district. So I just want to make you aware. You probably don't hear about that, you may hear from other board members. I'm sure as this thing goes on, boards will want to talk to one another. But it is important that we get that message out there that, and it's tremendous savings for folks in the community. So anyway, if you have questions, I'll try to answer them. If I can, I'll answer them by the next meeting, but it's in place, but early in the game to get it redone. Yes, sir, next meeting.
Is there, and I know at one point we were briefed that maybe there was some effort to try to get it on the ballot this year?
Yes, sir, there were some superintendents that wanted to try to get it on the ballot this year, and quite honestly, when we were at the meeting this past week, my opinion was that if they tried to put that on the ballot this year, one is it rushes the time frame. The time frame is 2 years from now, in 2018. It would take a change in legislation. It was already the end of the legislative session. I think trying to do it that fast would be confusing to taxpayers rather than them realizing that penny sales tax offsets their taxes, and a lot of the money comes from outside the county. I think it would be real confusing. I think it would be real hurried, and I think the opportunity for it would not have been very favorable. At the end of about an hour or so, that was pretty much the consensus that there would not be an effort to do anything in an off year of the 2016 year, and I think there was wisdom in that, but you're absolutely right. There were a couple of districts that wanted to push it forward.
I think that it's going to take 2 years of education for people to understand what that is. That's not asking for anything new. It's just continuing what benefits they already enjoy.
That's right, Mr. Bingham, and the other piece of that is the fact that because of the penny sales tax, the actual homeowner tax is lessened, and that's a pretty important piece to pick up, because it would change about 30 mills for us, and I'm not sure, Kelly, one of the other districts said it was 50 or more. It was significantly high, so it's not just a Lexington 2 thing, it's a Lexington County that involves all 5 districts, so, but I do think you're right, I think the public needs to understand that it offsets taxes and how it works in order for that to be favorable, at least in this district.
I think you would be well served to develop a plan so that over the next 2 years, as homeowners get those property tax bills and they see that credit on that line, they understand that's where that comes from. That if they don't vote to continue it, they lose that credit.
Right, and that's an issue, because when that credit's gone, their taxes automatically go up, and they will see that. Well, like I said, just in Lexington 2, it's 30 mills for us, so that's, multiply that all over, you're talking several $100s on 100,000, I would guess.
I think it's probably more than that.
That's
Property tax relief here is, I mean, it's a lot.
Well, that's exactly what this is. It is property tax relief, and as long as the penny sales tax stays in place, it's good for the school, it's good for the taxpayer. But if that sunset happens, you know that was better than I do. You were on this board when that penny went in, so.
Well, and I think that's the key, is it's not giving more money to the schools. It is truly a property tax relief.
Correct.
Trading sales tax for property tax.
Correct. It's just
not
swapping money.
It's not that the school is
extra
going
money.
to get a dime more one way or the other.
No, it is not. It's not increasing money. It's just getting the same amount from a different source.
And that is going to be very critical that that message gets out over the next 2 years.
And that different source, a lot of times, is outside of Lexington County whenever you start talking about penny sales tax. Anyway, that's a lot of information. Again, most of you have been on this board for a long while and were here when this penny sales tax went in, but the sunset is January 1, 2019. The last time it would be able to be voted on is November 28th. Ms. Brown.
And Dr. James, I'll ask you the question, but if you want to defer to Mr. Bingham, that's fine too, because he loves math and numbers, and he knows more about this probably than anybody in the room. So either Bill can answer this question, but looking at the formula of how they're doing it, which is fairly fair formula, what happens with Lexington, Richland 5? How are they getting their ADM and, I mean, does half their kids?
They're only getting a percentage based on the number of their students that are within Lexington County. And see, even though they're a larger district than us, we actually get more money than them because a good number of their kids are Richland County. So it's based strictly on Lexington County, and the Richland piece, they get nothing for. Kelly's shaking her head, I'm doing
But
good.
It's 50-50 split between the census numbers and the ADM. Right. So, yeah, so there, it is just based on the.
And that's worked out better for us. That's a much better situation for us. Anyway, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. James. Next is instruction, which there is no report tonight. And next on the agenda is finance. Our monthly financial reports and update on the bond set.
Thank you. I put at your place an updated May revenue because when I sent the packets out, we did not have our revenue from the county at that point. We have since received that, so I did update that with the additional 800 and some odd that, 25,000 from the county for our tax collections for May. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on revenue or expenditures. It's trending nicely. no questions? Oh, you have a question?
All right, this is May, that we've got the results on, obviously, we're halfway through June. Still looking real, I mean, these numbers are very favorable, so I assume there's not going to be many anomalies between now and the end of the month.
Right, but you're exactly right, so, but what's the question? No anomalies? No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you know, obviously, right now, you're at almost $68 million in income received, and your expenditures are only $60.4 million.
We still have now.
Now, you've still got salaries to pay out for
June and July.
The June and July.
For teachers, right.
Whatever those are,
Yes.
that'll make up that, I understand that.
Gotcha,
But
okay.
I'm just saying, at this point in time, we look to end favorably.
Yes. At this point in time, we do look favorable.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No objection to monthly financial reports, and they will stand approved. Okay.
I do want to make a comment about the referendum piece. Then we finish with the general fund, which is the next one. I've added at the bottom a little box that talks about the one go right before that, I'm sorry. That shows what our bond premiums have been on our past two issues for the $25 million and the $100 million that we just did. The premium that we got on that sale minus the cost of issuing those bonds, just to show you there's that $3.6 million also that is not reflected in, it's not budgeted yet up there. So I did want you to be aware of that. I'll update that. Our next one will be not till 2018. So that's new on this sheet since last time. And then we had some really good news on our last issue that we had back in May on our 100 million. When we did the original projections, when we lifted that, I guess 1.4 million on the CPIF and looking what we had projected ahead, when we had this bond sale, our rate was 2.97, which was much better than what was projected when we ran it with Mike Gallagher and we looked at these estimates early. So what that was able to do, I wanted to show you this sheet. If you look at that column that has the, it's the third from that end, starts with the 1.7. That is the money we'll have, that we're projecting right now, that we'll have for CPIF in the future. And that's about $2 million more than what we were early projecting, since the rate came in so much lower than we were projecting. So I did want you to make you aware. And also, when we approved our CPIF, because we were basing those on the projections we had at that point in time, we were projecting the 6.8 million, which is what we did the issue for. But because of that and our payments being so much lower than we anticipated, we still have 1.7 that we could issue for this year's CPIF. So just want to make you aware of that. And we do have enough in the resolution to issue that, should we? That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Bennett?
Since you're talking about bond issuance, all right, you issued 125 million of the 225 million.
Right.
When do we anticipate we're going to issue that last one?
2018.
We're going to wait that long?
Well, and that's how we,
This interest is pretty favorable, so I mean, I don't want to lose a 2-point-something interest rate
Right.
and end up after the Fed raises rates 3 times, and in 2018 we're paying 3.5% or 4% for what we could be paying 2.75
right.
for.
If you'll go back to that sheet, we have that 18 in there also, so those payments are already projecting out what our capacity would be at the same millage, not changing any of the millage. That column that starts the 5.2 million, so we're not looking, so basically for the next couple of years, we've maxed out on what our payments are going to be. Unless, of course, we reduce that CPIF, that would be the option there. But there again, we would be banking on hopefully getting the same rate if we did it early. And that's something I can talk to Mike about, looking at projecting out.
I want to lock in as
I
much
know,
of that 2.78 as you can lock in. It don't come around once in a lifetime.
So I can have him look at that and see where he's looked.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next is Administration and Student Services, construction update.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, I provided you with a written update on all of our projects. I do have one thing that I needed to make you aware of. We have in our audience Mr. Pope Walker, who is, we chose to be the supplier of the paint that we're using in our schools. And Mr. Walker has, in fact, I just sent Mr. Walker an email yesterday telling him how much I appreciated the effort that he has put into this project. He's been in all of the schools that are being painted at least once every day since they've started. Mr. Walker called me this afternoon and said that I've messed up. So, and this shows the quality of character of the person that we're dealing with. Someone had asked about painting the office at the Busby Creative Arts Academy, and as a result, he took one of the paint samples that we presented to you guys out there to kind of show what the office was going to look like. Long story short, he realized when he had that paint sample in his hand that he had been walking through the halls just like I had been walking through the halls that were being painted, and there's a slight shade difference in the color from what we had adopted. Now, he and I talked about it, and we could have very easily said nothing, and no one would have noticed because we didn't notice. He's an expert, and he didn't notice. But being the honest person that he is, he owns this, and he's willing to do whatever the board wants him to do to correct the issue. I will say that at this point in time, they painted 2 of the long hallways. It is a fabulous job. He has overseen that project like no other person I've ever worked with in painting. I would recommend that we accept the color as it is on that particular school and just proceed, and we'll make the correction on the next school and make sure that we get the right color. He indicates that, you know, if they need to touch up at any point in time, he can certainly replicate the color, and there will be no issue with that. And we've had different colors in buildings for a long time in this district. It's unfortunate, but I really do appreciate the honesty in this man, and I appreciate the pride that he has taken in these projects. And I would hate to hit him with a change in the pocketbook after he's put so much effort into this project. So unless there's some objection from the board, I feel that we should just proceed and accept a good job well done. So, proceed. Mr. Pope, we appreciate you coming, and I think everybody agrees that we're okay.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, for your honesty.
Well, I want to tell you, I greatly appreciate the fact that you all selected us to represent you in the painting project. It's a real feather in my cap, and I'm 100% committed to making sure that you get what you paid for.
Thank you.
I stand by that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Madam Chair, if you look down at Brooklyn Casey High School, I want to just say to you that we're going to be presenting, the architects are going to be looking at schematics for BC High School, and this is our first stab at this. We have not in any way tried to develop a budget for this. We've just identified the areas that we feel, Jumper Carter especially, with their experience with the schools in this district, they've been a very valuable asset. But, you know, Todd has just put together schematically some of the areas that we feel that we need to address out there. We want to show that to you as we start the process of developing a budget for that remodeling of that school and any additions that we might do there. So, Tyler?
Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower. Oh. Just to give you an update, this is kind of the overall master site plan at Brooklyn Casey High School. The existing facilities are shown in yellow. This sort of garnet bearcat color is the areas that we will receive renovation over the next several years. It'll be a multi-phase type project, which includes, Ms. Kessler, as you mentioned, the phase one of the whole project is kind of that renovation of the I2 Tech lab space, but it also includes renovating the entire vocational building. The old south wing will have some renovations associated with it, major renovations in the auditorium space, and then mechanical and electrical type renovations throughout the north wing. Pretty significant renovations in the science lab wings as well. So that kind of just brings you up to speed on what the renovations will be over the next few years. We'll continue to work closely with the administration, the district level and the school level to develop the specific scope of work for those areas. Now I'd like to kind of go back, and you guys have seen this before, but one of the first things that the bond referendum included was a new gym at Brooklyn Casey High School. So we've been exploring sites on the BC High School campus. We looked at an area behind the south wing on the the existing football field, and so that's an option. If you do that, then you eliminate the opportunity to have a track on campus, so that's one of the negatives that goes along there, but the new facility will fit on that site in that location. Also, just to point out, there is some improvements to the baseball and softball complex, batting cages, press box, concession, and toilet facilities as well. We've mentioned before that the consideration of the corner of Indigo and State Street was an opportunity. We could probably make this work. It would really be tight. It constricts the the plan for the gym significantly. So we hope there are other alternatives sites. This also shows how you could get a regulation 6-lane track in on the site, and we want to explore that. It is literally will fill the entire area. One other site that we looked at was adjacent to the existing gym. And you can see it encroaches. This really doesn't work either. It encroaches into baseball, it encroaches into tennis, so that's almost not an option as well. This is the drawing that shows the track, and you can see a regulation 6-lane track almost touches the softball field, outfield fence, and gives you a 20-foot wide drive access, which is required by code to get emergency vehicles in and out and through your campus behind the south wing. Goes all the way up to the existing vocational building and the property line on the church side of the property. That's kind of an update of where we are with Brooklyn Casey. We're working on it, we're making progress, and hopefully we'll have some more options to share with you also.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We received bids on the renovation of the baseball and softball field at Brook and Casey, and those bids came in over budget, so we're going to need to work through that as well. I think we'll be talking about that at a later time. Also, I mentioned previously about the ADA access at Congaree Wood, so I had those things highlighted. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have on any of those notes that I sent you on any of the updates, construction updates.
Any questions?
I just want to stress now on the airport stuff, it says the work has begun on, where are we at on the airport stuff? I mean, are they, as far as facilities and where the field house, that kind of stuff?
We've been waiting on the SWIP permit, basically the stormwater permit. We met out there this morning with the county and with the city of Casey, and everything was approved, so they are at this point in time mobilizing, and they're planning to start actually taking out tennis courts and doing work on Monday, starting Monday, weather permitting.
Any other questions?
Congaree Wood, they think it's over budget, but do you think that Congress will bring that under here in Congaree Wood?
Well, I think we can bring the overall project in under budget, but the ADA access, what we will probably end up having to do is just roll it into part of the bond referendum work that we're going to be doing out there anyway. What we were trying to do was do it under CPIF and try to save the markup from the contractor. That was our whole plan throughout a lot of this. Unfortunately, the bids came in higher, and I would have to come back to you and ask you for more money in order to allow that to go, because you passed a budget that had an amount in there for that project. The bids exceeded that, even though we had worked with the design team on that several times to try to bring it within budget before it ever went out to bid. We just, sometimes it's difficult to reel folks in.
Ms. Brown?
So is it a design issue, or it's just a pricing issue? I mean, could perhaps it have been designed differently so that it would fall
Yes and
in
yes.
the closet? I mean, within our budgets?
An example is that the amount of sod that was specified to go in place is more than the disturbed area. Sod is an expensive thing when you start putting it out, and then an irrigation system to keep that sod growing. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Also, in looking at the design, there's a difference in handrail and guardrail. The difference being that if you think about it from the simplistic terms, the guardrail has pickets, except they're metal pickets. That is much more expensive to do the guardrail than it is the handrail. We think there are certain areas in there that they design guardrail that we think we can get away with handrail. And most of it is, I mean, if they were to fall, they're only tripping over the curb that's there. So it's not a safety issue per se. So that's part of what we were talking about. The other thing is they were calling for concrete walls to basically hold back the dirt. They were calling for us to waterproof the backside of that concrete on, in some cases, an 18-inch wall. They were calling for us to put a French drain system, which basically is gravel with matting that would carry water out of there. And they were also calling for us to put weep holes into the wall, which means that it would allow water to run through the wall. And just put it in cornbread language. So we think that there are some opportunities for savings. But again, we've communicated those things to the civil engineer. The first design that was sent out had rebar in the sidewalk. And in In my former life, I used to finish concrete with my grandfather, and I've never put rebar in a sidewalk. We've laid a lot of sidewalk for the city of Maryville, Tennessee. So that was some of the first changes that we made. I'm not saying that you would never do it, but in this case, it was overkill, significant overkill. So those are the kinds of things. So yes, it is kind of a design issue in that we think we can modify the specifications and still get a good quality ADA walkway to the playground. There's also a case where, and Tommy King pointed this one out, where that if you look at the elevations, we come out of the building and we actually going onto the ADA ramp. They've got us going up about a foot in order to start coming down about 4 feet, which, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but that doesn't make sense to me. So those are the kinds of things that we've picked up in the design that we're going to try to work out with the civil engineer, but we just haven't had time to do all of that yet. That may be more than you asked for.
No, that's actually what I asked for. But you know, and I was not super pleased at the response we got from a firm who presented a project to us recently. That, you know, we asked about possibly looking at putting something somewhere else, and we were told, well, you know, we'd have to pay several $100,000 for them just to look at that. This may be similar. If that, they were given a price, they were set, you know, everybody was told this is kind of our parameters we're looking at. If they failed to design the project within our parameters, or if they cut out a wall and caused us to have to buy more, you know, fire protection and stuff, to me that is their error, and that we should not then have to pay for their error. Because I'll tell you the truth, I can't tell you, and I'm not just saying this Todd because he's sitting in the room, but I can't tell you how many times in the last 16 years this board sat here and sent those guys back to the drawing board, and I know they've got countless hours in work in this district, and never once did they look at us and say, well, I've already done this, you're going to have to pay me $200,000 to go draw you a new one just because you don't like it. And that, sometimes we just didn't like what he drew. It wasn't that he had a problem in it, or that, you know, it was going to come in over budget or anything like that. We just didn't like it. So our district kind of isn't used to that type of treatment, and we might want to have you relay that to the people who are working with our
They
district.
heard it very loud and clear.
Okay, but back to my point. So if your design team cannot design an ADA accessible playground within a budget that's probably pretty reasonable, we said it should fall within, and you and Mr. Pine have already seen that, hey, these other things could have been taken out, then perhaps they need to take some time off to go look at how to make it accessible and make it affordable in nice terms.
We're working on it.
One short comment. Mr. Eisenhower, you know, a lot of these presentations, you're saying that they're beginning work, or they're going back to the drawing board, or they're in a couple of weeks this, or whatever the wording may be. Basically looking at all of these projects, are we about where we should be according to your thoughts? Is there anything that's really lagging behind? Are we basically where you thought we should be? Or generally all the way across the board?
Well, as you know, we had a tremendous task when we came in here in August. I mean, we've been working very hard, and
I think we've had a tough task up here for 2 or 3 years, or maybe even
yes,
more than
ma'am.
that.
And I will say, I don't give him an accolade enough, but Tommy King and I have, I mean, we've got a lot of balls in the air right now that we're juggling to try to save all the money that we can. And I really do appreciate Tommy. He probably doesn't get as much credit as he should, but
Take a bow, Tommy.
Tommy has focused on a lot of, I guess, smaller projects, and a lot of them we're working together on, so that I can focus more on the newer stuff. Just for instance, today, we got a bid on the canopy, adding a canopy out at Busby Creative Arts Academy. And we had a budget in there of $60,000. It came in at $48,000. So Tommy handled that project from get-go. Now we're doing the purchase order, and that project will help to have done before school starts next on the buses. So that's an example of the kinds of things that he has taken and just taken it and gone with it, and has taken it off of my plate. I will tell you that, Thompson Turner has already left, but an example of what they've done, and the Couglers that are doing the grade work out there, we're already 3 weeks ahead of schedule on that project, and we're just getting out of the gates. So those guys have done a fantastic job. We're going to start footers, if nothing happens, we'll start footers on that project Monday. So to answer your question,
Yes and no.
yes and no.
Mr. Kessler, Don talk all day and never take any credit for it, and Tommy said back there. You aren't where 2 years ago you would have expected, but you're further today than we would have expected this time last year. And Ms. Brown, I know there's a whole bunch of people inside this room that's secretly just giggling over what you said. That's the no part. When we put out an amount that's budgeted and it's said that that's a good amount, and then folks come back to us and say, oh no, it's significantly more, that makes everybody's job hard for trying to figure out how to get it within the budget, because we have to take ownership, and then to come and tell you all after, you're right, Ms. Kessler, we've had 3 hard years, and then we get to come back and be the ones to tell you, we didn't draw this, but it's a lot over. So I'm going to just kind of take that as permission to say it needs to be within our amount, Ms. Brown, and we appreciate that. But it is coming along well, Ms. Kessler. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one more question.
Okay.
What's cornbread talk?
Ms. Kessler, you're from Greenville, Tennessee. You do not even need to ask that question. Don't go to Acton, West Columbia.
You took me back a few years, I love it.
All right, thank you. Next is Human Resources, which we have no report. All right, I'll now entertain a motion for executive session.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter closed session for consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of property matter, and consideration of a contractual issue.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second on Ms. Kessler. Now in executive session. Thank you.